Well, as I may have mentioned once or twice, Woke is Dead. I've written a whole new book. So I've invited some of the finest woke warriors in the world to tell me why I'm wrong.
You are sat there in this entire book moaning about how straight men are being bullied and marginalised by left-wing idiots like me, and actually that makes you incredibly woke.
You just cherry pick whatever you don't like. So when you don't like something and it hurts you, then that's when you go against cancel culture, Piers.
You are woke, Piers.
You like it. You like it when it serves.
The idea that vegans eat avocados every day is silly.
It's a bit presumptuous to celebrate that all of the parasitic ideas that constitute wokeism are now eviscerated.
This is more an aspirational title.
When you go promote this book over on Fox and
ma'am.
Friends, when you booty clap them cheeks,
Which I will be, by the way, in about a week.
Friends, I see you're still acting stupid, Piers.
So what is your point?
If we're going by Woke is Dead, you might learn something.
I think we should get a free copy, considering
I think we should
without us,
too.
the book would...
See, I'm a big fan of both of y'all, by the way.
Well, I'm a big fan of you.
I love you.
Love you.
All right, can we
Love
stop
you.
this annoying
You need
Love
to
podcast,
speak.
please?
Take up space,
Take
baby
it up.
girl.
Come on,
Take it.
baby.
Well, as I may have mentioned once or twice, Woke is Dead. I've written a whole new book about how and why it's nearly dead. Not quite. It still pops up every now and again. But what's changed is the way that we all respond to wokeism. Now, the tolerance of it, of these newfound fascists, has been put firmly back in its box. Just about every news programme in the country has asked me on to talk about it, but here at Uncensored, we prefer to debate the news rather than just talk about it. So in the spirit of fairness, balance and a robust exchange of views, I've invited some of the finest woke warriors in the world and the Uncensored universe to return and tell me why I'm wrong. Each of my woke witnesses will be presented with a claim from my book tailored to their unique, specialised subject. I'm joined in the studio by James Barr, comedian and Uncensored woke correspondent, Bonnie Greer, the playwright and liberal commentator, and more to come. So the first topic we're going to discuss is pride. And my guest, James Barr, is the specialised expert in this area, or thinks he is. Here's a clip of James in action talking about this.
Why are you so triggered
by
a flag?
It's a
rainbow flag. You mentioned Regent Street.
I'm not triggered by a rainbow flag. I'm triggered by the fact that everywhere I go for a calendar month, everything has to be a rainbow flag.
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight everywhere?
Where's my straight flag?
Why am I constantly getting
Where is
straight
my
people?
straight flag?
Why are straight people holding hands in the street?
When have you ever seen a straight flag?
Why has Mickey Mouse got a
Tell
girlfriend?
me one straight flag hanging right now anywhere in the world.
Why are straight people pushing
is the straight flag?
identity
Where's the
onto
straight
me?
flag?
Everywhere.
Where's my straight flag? I still haven't got my straight flag.
Well, you are a straight flag.
don't even get a straight day, let alone a month.
You are a straight flag, Piers.
I want to read you a quote from my book, James. The holy month of Pride is a dizzying peak of hypocritical corporate virtue signalling. I will go along with this, but only when I get a straight flag and a straight month. So this is all about equality. Until then, I don't need a rainbow on my breakfast cereal, sandwich, or chocolate bar to prove that I don't care what you get up to in your spare time. And it turns out many gay people agree with me.
Oh, many gay people agree with me. All the gay people I know agree with me, so I'm right.
Not all.
Bullshit, Piers.
Not all. Most
Bullshit.
gay people I know think that the Pride Month thing's got out of hand.
Also, can I just say, that is not queerness, that is capitalism that you have a problem with. That's not Pride Month, that's capitalism.
Why do you get a month?
Why do you get a whole year,
Why do you
Piers?
want a month?
Why do you get a whole
I don't get a whole year.
Next you'll be turning around and saying, why is there not a White History Month?
I don't get a whole year.
There is every single day of every year.
I don't agree with Black History Month either.
Every single day of every year is for straight white people. So it's okay every now and again to
but
just
why?
raise
You live in
awareness
those months too.
of queer. I do live in those months and they're exhausting.
What's the difference between your Pride Month and the rest of the year?
Pride Month is a celebration and raising awareness of queer people existing, Piers. But
I know you exist.
And can I just say as well,
certainly don't
do
celebrate
think
your existence.
This book is ridiculous. Woke is Dead is such a ridiculous title
Why?
for a book because of all the people in the world, the most woke person is literally you. You are
Why?
sat there in this entire book moaning about how straight men are being bullied and marginalised by left-wing idiots like me, and actually that makes you incredibly woke. That makes you the most woke person because you cannot stand.
Enough,
you cannot stand that straight men are being victimised. So you're standing up for straight people, which is great. So well done on being woke.
As I will say to Bonnie a little later when we get to her issue, actually by the original definition of woke, which originated in African-American music in America in the 60s, it meant raising awareness of social and racial injustice. By that criteria, I will happily say I am woke.
It goes further than that.
But that is not how it transformed in the last decade. It became an insidious form of fascism, where anyone who deviated from the woke worldview, whether it was things like trans athletes in women's sport, which was an outrageous attack on women's rights, if you raised a concern about it, boom, you got cancelled, you got shamed, you got vilified. I didn't see you standing up on behalf of women for their rights when that was all going down.
What are you talking about? I stand up for women's rights all the time.
So is it wrong that trans athletes compete in women's sport?
I think that all sports should be gender neutral, Piers, because I think
Gender neutral.
I think that people of different
Have you ever
body-
watched the Olympics?
Yes, I have.
Okay, do you ever watch the times that men record
I think it should be
in running and
divided
jumping
by
with-
body type and strength, to be honest
And
with
you'd
you.
have men against
I think
women?
that would be a lot safer.
Men would compete with women?
Because there are women who are stronger build than other women.
come off
and there
it,
are men who
James.
are stronger
This
build
is the
than
problem.
other men. No, your problem is that you are literally just victimizing anyone with a different opinion to yourself.
No, mate, you're
you are so wrong,
No,
Piers.
no, you want a gender-neutral Olympics. In that moment, the audience at home can see you're a complete lunatic.
I'm not a lunatic.
Of course you are.
I'm not.
Of course you
There is
are.
nothing wrong with what...
There's a reason we
I want
separate the
safety-
sexes in the Olympics.
You know I
no
want
women would win a medal again.
I want safety for women, girls.
No, you don't.
I do. Yes, I do.
You want women getting in a boxing ring in the Olympics with a man.
That's insane.
You just said it.
There are literally hardly any trans people in the world. This is such
So in the
bullshit.
gender-neutral Olympics, in the boxing event, you'd have women and men
I would, if
fighting.
you're worried about people's safety,
Would you have them fighting or
If you're
not?
worried about people's safety, then you should look at people's strength and body mass and put those people against each other. That's what you should do.
You would put a woman with the right body mass in
You
a
are
boxing
constantly
ring
changing what I'm
against a
saying.
man.
You're changing.
Didn't you
what
just
I'm
say that?
No, I said people with the same and similar body types and strength ability should go against.
You look at a woman, if she looks roughly the same size as
No,
the bloke,
obviously,
look.
you
put
just
them in
look
the
at
ring.
them.
This is completely insane. This is my point.
It might sound
You people
insane,
are
but it actually
insane.
makes complete
This is
sense.
why I've written the book.
Yeah,
It is insanity.
It's not insanity.
It is.
It's not. It's fairness. The whole
It's
point.
not
of,
fair, that's the whole point.
The whole point of woke is to make everyone equal. We're trying
Bonnie,
to.
even you, Bonnie, surely can see this is insane.
Piers, I've actually boxed a man. As small as I am.
Could you do it
he
right
was
now?
No, he's bigger than me. See, that's my point. The weight, he and I had the same weight, so we went into the ring together. He beat me, but we did it. We boxed together.
Would you be happy? We saw actually at the last Olympics, Imran Khalif, an Algerian boxer who was banned from the World Championships for having tested positive for male chromosomes, getting in the ring, winning the gold in the weight class that Imran Khalif was in. And we saw an Italian female boxer quit after 40 seconds because, quote, "I've never been hit that hard in my life. I feared for my life." Right? This is wrong. It is dangerous. It's not a question, James, with all due respect. I've done a lot of research into this. It is not a question of just having a similar body shape. Men have stronger muscle mass, stronger lung capacity. Every metric of physiology with men is superior purely on the physiology. That's why we separate the sexes.
But Piers, your issue, you call something wrong. It's not wrong. It's something we need to explore and to learn more
No,
about.
that's where you're...
Well,
no,
hang on.
Well, you're wrong. Ironically, you're wrong.
No, it's not wrong. Killing people is wrong, but these two people need a chance. We need to learn more about the human body, and we can. I don't want to see a woman beaten by somebody bigger than her. Of course I don't. But we have an opportunity to learn more about the human body, more
You know what,
physiology.
Bonnie,
And let me say something. I got into a ring with a little guy.
Right.
This was a little man, and he beat me because he was better than me.
Because he's a man.
He was better than me. No,
There's a reason we do. Listen, I'm afraid sometimes in life, some things are right and some things are wrong.
No, that's not true. This is not it.
Allowing biological men into women's sport is wrong.
This is not.
There's no ambiguity about it.
When you use right and wrong to me, and
Yeah.
we may be doing it differently, we're talking about a moral universe. I disagree with that.
Not a moral universe.
No. You said
we're
right.
not. No, sorry.
Hang
Sorry,
on.
you're wrong again.
No, I'm not wrong.
We're talking about a factual reality.
No. I'm talking about when you say the word to me. I'm not talking about whether it's true neutrally. When you say the word to me, that's where I take it, and I'm saying you're wrong.
I'm not saying it's morally wrong.
Of course you're
that
not,
biological men compete in women's sport.
but if you-
I'm saying it's actually scientifically, biologically wrong and unfair and unequal. It's the same as allowing doping.
But wrong means that something is morally in some universe wrong.
No.
If we hang on. No, you're disagreeing
Well,
with
actually,
me.
it's morally
But you're
wrong too.
Well, I disagree.
But it's
with
also
that. It's not. I disagree with the moral part.
Why?
That's
Why would
wrong.
you want?
That's
Why
wrong.
would you, as a strong? I've known you a long time.
I've known you a long
I have a lot
time.
of time for you. Even
I
though
have a lot of
disagree
time for
with
you.
a lot
You
of what you
too.
say,
You
but we
too.
agree about a number of
Sure.
things too. And I respect you. I do. But the idea that you think it's right that women's sport should be destroyed.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, it's either right or
you've
wrong.
leaped into a huge platform.
either right or wrong.
What I'm saying is, in each instance, Piers, let's judge it. Let's see what it is. Let's leave it open for that. You might be right at the end of the day.
No, I am
but
right.
let's.
You're so frustrating.
I'm not.
You're so annoying.
I'm not.
Also, we were talking about pride, and
And you know better than
I agree. Let's come back to pride.
You've immediately segued
So let's
into
come back
an
to pride.
enormous debate. That
Here's
could be
my
5
thing
hours
about.
long.
Here's my thing about pride. I was having this conversation actually with a gay broadcaster today about how dramatically things have changed. In 1966, when England won the World Cup, it was illegal to be gay in this country. It was a crime, right? We have moved a long way from then. 30 years ago, in my village when I grew up, you would hear a lot of homophobic stuff in the pubs and racist stuff, if I'm honest. It was very normal, right, in the villages up and down the country that people were homophobic and racist. It was ignorance in the kind of purest sense of that, of no exposure to people who were openly gay, very few black people in villages in southern England, for example.
Absolutely.
And it was a kind of ignorance based on just never experiencing anything different to their straight white lives. Today's show is sponsored by OneSkin, which can help all of us look even younger. OneSkin is redefining skincare with cult favorites like OS1 Body, Face and Eye, built around their patented OS1 peptide, which is clinically proven to target senescent cells, a key driver of skin aging. Backed by 5 clinical studies, OneSkin products improve skin texture, firmness, and elasticity over time. They have more than 10,000 5-star reviews, born from over 10 years of longevity research. OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the cells that cause the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthier skin and hair now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code PIERS, that's P-I-E-R-S, at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code PIERS. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them that we sent you. We have moved on so much, James. And I look at you.
Your previous argument proves that we actually haven't, because you're removing empathy from the trans debate.
No, I'm not. No.
And-
Here again, let me just be crystal clear for the 1,000th time, probably with you alone, I've said this.
The fingers out.
I have never had a problem with people identifying as trans. If they believe they're trapped in the wrong body, they want to identify as a woman, no problem. My only problem comes when they want to erode women's rights in pursuing their own rights.
How does that
I want
happen?
trans people to have the same rights to fairness,
Yes.
safety,
How
and
does the
equality
erosion
as
happen?
me, you, and
How
you.
does the erosion happen? You said when they erode.
Yes.
When does the erosion happen? Can I have an
I've just
example?
literally just told
no,
you.
you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't. You made a statement, but you didn't give me an example. Let me say something else. I lived in the village, in Greenwich Village, in the 80s.
Yeah.
Most of my friends
In New York.
died. Yeah, most of my friends died from AIDS. I still haven't got over that, okay? They were people, some of them peers couldn't go home to their parents.
I agree.
Because their parents didn't know they were out.
I know.
Some of them did go home, and they couldn't die with the people they had spent 10 and 20 years
I
of
know.
their life
Terrible.
because their parents wouldn't allow it.
But Bonnie-
Hang on. What pride is about is foregrounding those people, foregrounding those people's
I know.
worldview in peace. In peace. I don't agree with people taking over other people's lives. I don't agree with people stopping you from what you feel. But I do adamantly support gay rights, because there was a time
But so do
when
I.
people died
So what's your
because
point?
they were gay.
Despite
So
his
what's your point
fury all the
about
time,
pride?
I've
Why-
always supported gay rights.
Are you saying we should just
yeah.
stop pride now because it's done?
Yeah,
That's
why-
your argument.
It's
That's
just
your argument.
It's just annoying.
So you think we should
that's
just?
it.
Would you rather just cancel pride altogether?
Like butterflies
Why
in
should
your
gay
more
people
pride.
get a whole month?
Why not?
Are you
Why?
saying? Are you
Why should
saying
you?
that
They
you
didn't have
don't
any-
want pride?
If you want equality, that's not equal.
Piers, you just answered your own question.
get a day.
Piers, you
I don't
just,
get an hour.
Piers, you just answered your own
I've
question.
become a marginalised person in
Piers, no, you're
society.
not. No,
Literally,
you're not.
you're a walking straight
wonderful,
pride.
You're a wonderful straight white man.
Yeah.
Listen, and I'm married to one, and I'm telling you something. He goes into the door first when we have to go somewhere, because I know how it works.
Who?
Okay. My husband goes in first. You know
Right.
my husband. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is you live in a universe, and because you don't know any other universe. You live in this universe where you're highly privileged. You're highly
But hang on,
privileged.
I've lived in London since I was 19.
Okay.
London is one of the most multicultural,
Yes, so?
tolerant places
Piers,
on earth.
Piers,
right?
Piers, you and I don't know if you still live there, but you and I used to live in Notting Hill. Now, I'll give you £100.
I've never lived in Notting Hill.
Okay, but
West London.
But we know the area. To this day, I'll put £100 on the table if you and I walk up to a restaurant, certain restaurants. Guess who doesn't get checked?
Let's go to Brixton and try it and see what happens there.
It'll happen there too.
Really?
It'll happen there too. Yeah, Brixton's changed. Haven't you been there?
I don't for a moment mitigate that actually if you're black, you probably still get that kind of experience from time to time, and it's awful. I hate it. I hate racism.
I know you do.
Similarly, I hate homophobia. Judging people on their sexuality, I despise it. Honestly, I do.
Yeah, and gay people don't
I don't
feel
think
safe.
you would say in any of our interactions privately, you would ever get a sense I'm remotely homophobic.
Of course you're not homophobic.
No, of course you're not.
It's really not. It's not about that.
Of
The
course
same
you're
way
not.
that with the trans issue with sport and stuff, I'm not transphobic. What I'm trying to do is get a level, fair,
But
free,
you can't,
and equal playing
Piers,
field.
you cannot, because your intelligence is too complex, okay? You can't do it. Now, if you
Actually,
put,
the issue
hang
of
on.
transport is not complicated. It's
Pardon
easy.
me?
Can I just say something, Piers? If you hate Pride so much, that's maybe
I don't
awful.
hate- I
Maybe
don't-
we needed to invite you.
Yeah,
Do you
come
just feel
on.
left out?
Come
Do you
on.
want to come to
I just
Pride?
don't want to have.
Do you want to come to
I
Pride
don't
with
want
me?
to have a month of you ramming it down
Why
my
don't-
throat,
I
for
will
want of a better
always-
phrase.
You
No,
would
I'm
love
always
Pride.
ready
You would
to
love
ram
it.
it down your
You
throat,
would love
Piers.
it. You would love
I think
it.
you and I should go to Pride in London
And I'll
next
go
year.
with you.
I'll hold your
You-
hand.
I would be very
love it.
popular
You
at
can
Pride.
feel included.
Although
It'd
gay
be
men
very
never
popular.
hit on me. Never happens.
It'll
I
happen
hit on
at
you all the
Pride.
time.
It'll
Honestly,
happen at your
I've
Pride.
never had
It'll
a gay
happen
man
at Pride.
come on to me
And
in
you'll-
my
it'll
adult
happen-
life. It's
it'll
quite
happen at
amazing.
Pride.
Do you
It'll
think-
happen
I
at
don't know
Pride.
what it is. I must radiate
It'll
such,
happen at Pride.
such amazing straight
because you're-
testosterone.
Do you think you have
Oh
a
my
bit
God.
of, do you have a bit of
I'm
gay
not saying
in
I
you?
want them to.
Do you
Your
want a bit of
button
gay
on
in
I'm
the
just
you?
saying
Right.
I've never had a gay man
We'll
come on to
take you
me.
where it'll happen.
Huh?
We'll take you where it'll
Yeah,
happen.
Piers, I'm going to make that happen
You'll
for you.
love it.
All right, we're going to move on to the second topic. You guys stay, because everyone can join in.
All right.
This is Ernest Owens, author of The Case for Cancel Culture, which in itself is one of the most ludicrous book titles
Oh, it's
ever
a
written.
beautiful
You
book.
think Woke Is Dead is bad, mate? Try The Case for Cancel Culture.
Lovely
so
title.
let's have a look at Ernest's greatest hits. Ernest, why would somebody who's so traumatized by Kevin Spacey send him naked pictures of himself?
I think the larger point for me in all of this is that Kevin Spacey appears to have a bunch of skeletons in his closet. And I feel like the more he talks, the more I learn. And the more I learn more about him, the more I dislike him. And the more I don't want to buy a movie ticket to ever see him again.
So, Ernest, you were so censorious about Kevin Spacey, who has fought two cases, one in a criminal court, one in a civil court. He won both. He's not convicted of any crimes. And yet many people like you believe he should be cancelled because you don't like the perception he has skeletons in his cupboard. Now, I mean, do you have a completely squeaky clean background, Ernest? If we were to apply the Ernest Kevin Spacey logic to you, would you be appearing here on my show, or would you have to cancel yourself?
So for starters, I just want to say that I am not saying that Kevin Spacey should be canceled forever. If you actually read my book, you know that I
When's
talk
he
about
allowed
how
back?
there's a process around accountability. He was dealt with the courts. He has, suffered, consequences for his actions. And that's really what it's about accountability. So this idea of, defining things, you can misdefine woke the way you want to, which I disagree with how you're defining it in this book. But, if
you
we
read
want
the
to talk
book?
about cancel culture, it is about accountability.
You haven't read my book. How do you
And
know?
that was what I was calling for with the Kevin Spacey
Hang on,
situation.
Ernest,
No,
Ernest,
I'm talking about the way you
Ernest,
just
hang
defined it on
on.
the show.
Ernest, you ever read my book? How do you know what's in it?
You just defined it. I said the way you defined it. I didn't talk about the whole book. I
I
talked
haven't
the way you
defined the
defined
book
woke.
at all.
Like the way...
Here's what I'm going to say about cancel
no,
culture.
you've defined woke on the
hang
show.
on, Ernest. Here's a passage from the book about cancel culture, your specialist subject. People were cancelled for the most pathetic reasons and the stampede of frenzied outrage. It was now impossible to be woke enough. I don't think anybody really wants to live in a society of curtain-twitching snitches and armchair detectives raking over problematic social media posts from a decade ago. I don't think anyone really enjoys walking on eggshells and waiting for a knock on the door from the fun police. We've been liberated from the tyranny of the always offended and given a fresh crack at a world without cancel culture. And that's why it's so important that we don't replace it with something equally bitter, ideological, ideological, grievance-ridden, and censorious. And there was a great example of this with the comedian Graham Linehan. Now, not everyone agrees with his views, but he decided he was going to make this whole issue of the trans activism an issue where he would defend women's rights. Maybe he went too far with some of his rhetoric, with some of his posts. Maybe his jokes weren't that funny. But the idea that for posts on X in April, 5 armed police arrested him at Heathrow Airport and dragged him through the criminal mincer until, thank God, common sense prevailed. And the police announced not only were they not pursuing this case, but they were now no longer going to pursue at all any similar case like that, because they realised it's not their job to police free speech. If he's not inciting violence, and he clearly wasn't, they tried to make out that he was doing a crass joke, but he wasn't inciting violence against any individual. And I think that is where my concern about cancel culture is, that if you're inciting violence, fine, that's not covered by free speech. No one should defend it, right? But if you're just being unpleasant, offensive, maybe even a bit hateful, you may not like it, Ernest Owens, but I'm entitled to be all those things towards you, and you are to me. Uncensored is proudly sponsored by Cozy Earth, which, like me, delivers next-level quality and comfort. If I wasn't hosting this show today, I'd be wearing a pair of their bamboo joggers. Why? Well, they're buttery soft. They never lose their shape. And besides TV appearances, you can wear them for pretty much anything. Flights, school runs, or just relaxing at home. For those seeking intense comfort in more formal attire, take a look at their Everywhere pant. Lightweight, breathable, ludicrously flexible, but still polished enough to wear out. If you're ready to look sharp and feel great, go to CozyEarth.com and use code PIERS, P-I-E-R-S, for up to 40% off joggers, pants, shirts, everything. And remember to tell them that I sent you. Cozy Earth, built for real life.
No one's disagreeing with that. I think what is important to note is that you're conflating several things. For starters, I think it's ironic that your book is called Woke Is Dead and you're against cancel culture, because clearly you want to cancel wokeism, which is your right. So you and I are on the same page, right? You clearly like cancel culture because your title is called Woke Is Dead and you want to cancel wokeism.
Yeah, but I'm doing to wokeism what cancel culture protagonists like you should want me to do. I'm cancelling it.
Well, no. I want to cancel bigotry and hatred and racism and transphobia. And that's my opinion. Well, then I would argue that some of the behaviors of the comedian you spoke on, I don't think that the government should infringe upon his free speech rights, which is one thing, right? So I agree with you. I don't think law enforcement should have gotten involved. That was wrong, right? But again, I say the same thing about the FCC with Jimmy Kimmel, right? You're one of your guys, that you tend to be speaking positively about, the President of the United States. He wants to censor comedians who disagree with him politically. I think that is a right-wing version of wokeism. Wokeism is not just for progressives and leftists.
Let me surprise you. I don't disagree. I make the point in the book that you haven't read.
You're going to tell him, Piers.
The woke right is showing tendencies which are exactly the things they criticize on the woke left.
And I said that in my book, The Case for Cancel Culture, Piers. So if you read my book, you will know that I talk about when progressives cancel and when conservatives cancel.
I've been canceled.
It's all subjective. You just cherry pick whatever you don't like. So when you don't like something and it hurts you, then that's when you go against cancel culture, Piers. But you're in favor of cancel culture. You are.
You are woke, Piers.
You like it. You like it when it serves your benefit.
You're woke. You are
woke. All right, easy, tigers. Look at this. Look at the woke pack coming for me.
You're more woke than any of us.
And you're more woke than any of us. And not only that, the beautiful thing about it is that you got Donald Trump on speed dial. So you need to call him up and tell him just what you said.
Well, we're going to come to you and Donald Trump because you and I were on Question Time recently.
We were.
The BBC's flagship political show, in which you continue to call him Hitler and a Nazi.
I know I ain't call him a Nazi, I call him Hitler.
Yeah, well, Hitler was a Nazi.
I'll explain. I can explain.
You can explain why he's Hitler but not a Nazi?
Yes, I can.
I'd love to hear that explanation.
Okay, very happy.
That's one of the maddest things you've ever said.
Very happy to.
Was Hitler a Nazi?
Of course he was.
Then you've just answered your own
question.
But
the opposite doesn't mean the same. That doesn't mean it's true. Just because one preposition is true doesn't mean the other one is true. And I can explain it.
All right, well, I'm going to come to you, Bonnie, because don't worry, we've got a lot to discuss with you.
Okay, good.
Ernest, finally on cancel culture. I do actually accept, for example, there's a good example of this in the UK at the moment. The president-elect of the Oxford Union Debating Society reacted to Charlie Kirk being murdered by posting on groups, LOL, laugh out loud, and then Charlie Kirk got shot, let's effing go, exclamation mark. In other words, he was celebrating the shooting. He says he didn't know he was actually dead, but the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Now, what made this particularly awful was that he had debated Charlie Kirk in the Oxford Union only 4 months before. Now, here's my point about him. I don't think he should be arrested for what he said. I don't think he should have government interference in censoring him or anything like that. He's perfectly entitled to what he said. But to your point about accountability, obviously he is unfit to be president of a debating society. And we should all agree that, right? We all like to debate, right? But if you were suddenly shot, or you were Bonnie, or you were James, or God forbid I wouldn't expect anyone here to celebrate that news publicly in the way that that guy did. So we should be able to agree that some of the parameters here shouldn't be very contentious, right? And that is that if you do something as despicable as that, I don't want you arrested for it. I don't want you put in a prison cell, but I do want you held accountable for what you said. And if what you've done is completely incompatible with the position that you're trying to occupy, which clearly it is, you can't be run a debating society and celebrate people being killed for their views, then you should not be doing it.
I was on the Oxford Union debate, actually.
Sorry?
So what's interesting, I was actually on the Oxford Union debate earlier this year with Dave Rubin. When you had him on your show that week, I was actually on that debate. And so I do know the players there. And I think what's important to note is, like, your point is correct. The way in which we define who we choose to counsel is based on our own standards, or the standards to which you're upholding the role, which is about civility. And often what happens, what I notice with people on the right, is that they'll claim that they're being canceled when said audience or said group holds them accountable to the standards to which they've agreed to. So if you are a school teacher and you're making inappropriate remarks about your students that could be considered racist or sexist or problematic, and you lose your job for that, you're not canceled for that. And I think that that's the problem.
I agree.
Is that people are using that. So that's what I believe in. That's what cancel culture is about. I think it's about accountability in that type of way. I'm not saying that the government should stop your First Amendment rights, but I am saying that, you know, the court of public opinion can weigh, which is what I was saying about Kevin Spacey.
Ernest, we may have very rarely have reached a point of almost agreeing with each other. So on that bombshell,
it took us 2 years.
It's taken a while, but I'll let you go. Thank you very much, Ernest. I want to bring in Dale Vince now, the eco-entrepreneur, a financial backer of the dearly departed Just Stop Oil. Welcome back, Vince. Dale, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Piers. Good to see you again. I was really enjoying watching you and the panel just now, and I agree with you. My conclusion was the same. You got to the end and you all had more in common than you had in difference.
Which I suspect is probably the case. I do think that social media in particular whips things up into sometimes what seems to me like quite artificial culture wars. What we've lost somehow, and I do blame a lot of this on social media, we've lost the ability to have passionate debate and then agree to disagree. And my argument about some of the elements of the woke left is that they began to behave in the last few years rather like the fascists they profess to hate most. And that's what I dislike about it. I've always liked a good debate. I've debated with you, but I don't want you destroyed for your views. I might want to destroy your argument, and you might want to destroy mine. But I wish you personally no animus at all. And in terms of the eco situation, for example, I was asked today in an interview about net zero. Piers, what is your view of net zero? I said, well, look, my view is nuanced, something we don't see much of these days. I would love to get to a place of net zero. I just don't think we can do it quickly. I think we should have the aspiration to do it as fast as possible without bankrupting countries. I don't think that's a contentious view. I would say that's a pragmatic view. And I would say that it will take a number of years to do this, but there should be a concerted global effort to aspire to get there sooner rather than later. But if you try and say, as Greta Thunberg does, we've got to do this right now before the planet burns down in 5 minutes, it's a kind of ludicrous place, where I feel she loses credibility and doesn't bring people with her. Similarly, in your area with the protesters on the eco side, when they're running around ruining everybody's fun, they're going to the cricket and they're trying to ruin the test match wicket, or they're going to the snooker, they're throwing their paint all over the snooker bays. Whatever it may be, when they're shutting down bridges that people can't get to, in some cases, funerals or hospital appointments. When they do stuff like that, I don't think they bring people with them. They might think they do, and they might think the ascendant publicity they get is worth it. But actually, if it's always negative and all you're doing is pissing people off, I don't think it's effective. It doesn't work.
Yep. So where to start with all of that? I think your view on net zero is actually the common view. actually. We conducted this thing called a Giga poll about a month ago. We launched it a couple of weeks ago. We polled 50,000 people in our country. It's the biggest poll ever by breadth and by depth. We asked them 80 questions on a whole range of topics. And one of the things we got back was that the vast majority of people in our country believe that the climate crisis is a big threat to them and to their families in the future, and they want something done about it. They support net zero. But at the same time, a big chunk of those people, in fact, half of those people, or half of the people we polled, said basically they were worried that we could afford it. Perfectly valid worry. What you expressed was a concern that we were going too fast. Those things travel together in the current, I'm going to call it this, right-wing narrative that we're hearing, particularly from Nigel Farage and from Kemi Badenoch, that net zero is somehow suddenly a bad idea and will bankrupt the country, and we're moving too fast. Those arguments deserve scrutiny rather than just being accepted, and I'm up for that. The idea that left-wing people are becoming like the right-wing, the fascists that they despise. I mean, you know, there's something in there, but the big difference between the protesters and their orange paint and right-wing people using violence is the lack of violence in the left-wing protests of Just Stop Oil that you talked about. They put themselves in harm's way. Yes, they piss people off. There's no doubt about that. I think we've talked about that a lot, you and I. And I think the trade-off was worth it for a period of time. And then there was a point in time at which it didn't any longer make sense. And I kind of moved in a different direction and supported Labour to get them through the election. So, I mean, again, I agree with most of what you say. I think we need to scrutinise these arguments that are being made, not just polarise and lob bricks at each other.
Gold is up by more than 40% in value since the beginning of this year. And today's sponsor, Birch Gold, is marking Veterans Day with a tantalising offer. Buy gold, get free silver. For every $5,000 purchase from Birch Gold this month, they will send you a free silver round which commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Birch Gold helps you to own gold by converting an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. They will also waive custodial fees on the first year investments for current or former military. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, including many of you. So join them. Text my name, Piers, P-I-E-R-S, to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchases before the end of the month. Again, text my name, Piers, to 989898. Do it today. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I'm going to play a clip. This was when the vegan activist Joey Carbstrong came on talking about his campaign against a restaurateur who had banned vegans. Let's take a look. Why don't you play me the sound of billions of bees being murdered? Well, I know that animals get killed so that I can eat peace.
They're screaming to death.
Right.
Look at them, face them.
What do you think bees do?
Face them, they're screaming
What do you think bees do when you murder them?
They get killed by mites. This is gas chamber, look at it.
No.
You don't even want to look at it.
They get slaughtered.
You're a coward.
I'm not cowardly.
Look at it.
I know that animals get slaughtered so that I can eat animal meat.
I've stuck this camera in this gas chamber in the UK at Pilgrim's Pride, and they scream for their lives, and every single animal welfare
here's my
charity
problem.
are against
Here's
it.
my problem.
And you eat bacon and you promote it.
I love bacon.
You promote it.
I love bacon.
You say you're against that.
I love sausages. I love it all. I love eating meat. Now, you see, the thing is, he was never going to persuade me because I do love eating meat. And by the way, spoiler alert, animals eat animals. That's how they all survive in the bush. I write this in the book, specifically about in my view, the rank hypocrisy of a lot of vegans. Hectoring and hypocrisy are, again, the main issues I have. The vegan millennial meal of choice is avocado toast with an almond milk latte, but large-scale production of both avocados and almonds is disastrous for the environment. They don't want to talk about it, so I will. First, it decimates bees, without which there would be no flowers or crops. Secondly, both almond and avocado trees gulp preposterous quantities of water from already parched lands. It takes 4 litres of water to grow one single almond and 150 almonds to make a single carton of almond milk. An avocado tree inhales 320 litres of water to produce just one avocado. Every single order of Instagram's most ubiquitous brunch choice has ingested enough water to hydrate a child for a year, but I'm the monster because I like cheese. Now, I'm sorry, but I present the evidence, for my defense of this, is that underpinning a lot of these eco campaigns is a hypocrisy. And I do think in the vegan case, if you're strict vegan and you genuinely care about the plight of living creatures, you can't be guzzling avocados and almonds because billions of bees get killed and it's environmentally disastrous. Do you agree, Dale Vince?
This reminds me, we've talked about this before on your show, if you remember, and you asked me if I eat avocados repeatedly, and I told you I do, but it's occasional, it's not frequent. The idea that vegans eat avocados every day is silly. Maybe there is a lot of them on Instagram, but it doesn't represent what plant-based people eat. I think you told me that all the avocados in the world came from America or somewhere like that.
Yeah, it's a massive amount from California, yeah.
That's right. And I said to you, actually, I get them from Spain. And you asked me how.
Yeah.
How do I know that? And I said, well, I read the label, Piers. Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, I think I asked you how they got to you from Spain.
Oh, you
because
asked
it's
me
obviously
how-
not that environmentally friendly, is it?
No, you asked me how I knew my avocados didn't come from the USA.
Right.
And I did some research, and only 20% of the avocados in the world actually come from the USA. So I agree with you, right? It's about facts. And your facts, your presentation of facts is only partial in your book from what you just described. Because if you went on to compare almond milk to dairy milk, you would find dairy milk is the most water-intensive form of milk that we can have. Almond is the worst of the alternatives in water consumption. Oat is probably the best. There's a range of them, but dairy milk outpaces them all in water consumption.
Apparently 40% of the world's is it avocados or almonds? Just 40% of the world's avocados come from Mexico, which is just as far as California.
They originally come from
It's a
South
little bit
America.
further.
Yeah.
That's
point
their
was-
home.
The point was they don't all come from America. And facts are really important. And you had a fact that you thought supported your argument.
Well, I think
and
it's
it was-
80%. Well, I think you're conflating the two things. I think it's about 80% of the world's almonds come from California specifically. It's an incredibly
No, we were
large
talking about
amount.
avocados. No, we talk about avocados because I definitely told you I got the avocados that I did eat were from Spain.
But do you agree if you're a genuine, pure vegan and your position is you don't like killing animals, you can't eat avocados or almonds? You can't.
Well, here's the thing. All the plants that we eat are pollinated by bees in the world and other insects. That happens. Pollinators have a crucial role to play. The farming of bees and the using of them, the harnessing them in vast numbers to run farms for avocados and stuff is not something that I agree with.
Do you know how
And
many bees? Do you know how many bees? Genuine question. How many bees get killed every year in the pollination process in California?
You told me before that it was billions.
50 billion bees on
That's
average.
a lot.
50 billion.
What I was going on to say was,
Why don't you
what I
guys
was
care
going on
about the
to say
little
was-
guys?
That's what you said before.
It's a
And what
good
I was
line
going to-
because it's true.
It's a great line. I just wanted to say I don't eat honey because actually, that's the extent to which I'm plant-based. I don't eat honey. So I have the occasional avocado. They come from Spain.
I think
don't
I'm turning you into a purer version of yourself. And actually, you know what? And here's the point. It's actually an interesting debate. I've become a world expert in almonds and avocados, something I never thought I'd be, all the lifespan of bees in California. But it should be something we should be able to debate without everyone losing their minds. And we should be able to reach points of consensus. Because, I'm not an immovable object when it comes to these things. And actually, one of my arguments about the woke left is I identified for the last 20 years of my life as a kind of pretty liberal bloke. I was editor of the Daily Mirror for 10 years. You don't get to do that if you're a right-wing headbanger. But I just find so little in common with this kind of very puritanical, censorious, judgmental view of life where you either conform to this narrow worldview or you have to be destroyed. I think it's been damaging to society.
And that's on the right, too.
It can happen on the right. I don't disagree.
It does happen
It
on the
hugely
right.
happens
That's on the right.
It was great that you said woke left.
Right, exactly.
That does admit that there is a
There is a
woke
woke right. I make the point.
Absolutely.
Look, I agree with you, and I think it should be about facts. And when we first debated this, you thought you had well-being facts on almonds and avocados, and they weren't right. Now you've come back with improved facts. I like that. But the fact you're missing in the milk description in your book is dairy milk. You need to improve your facts to show the whole picture. And I love to debate facts. Facts inform arguments. Facts can persuade people, and that's where I'm at. Not lobbing insults at people and trying to drive their own behaviour just because of what I think.
Okay, Dale, it's good to talk to you. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Piers.
Well, let's move to another issue now. Professor Gad Saad, the evolutionary behaviour scientist, who is not woke, but was one of the first to take issue with the name of my new book. Gad, welcome back to Uncensored. What is wrong with Woke Is Dead?
Well, thanks for having me back. I haven't read it yet, but just from the title, it's a bit presumptuous to celebrate that all of the parasitic ideas that constitute wokeism are now eviscerated.
Well, I don't say that. To be clear, I don't say this. This is more an aspirational title. I make it clear that woke is still there. It's dying out. And the reason I say that is you're seeing screeching reversals now around the world in things like corporate DEI policies, in the trans issue of trans athletes in women's sport. You know, time and again, we're seeing the reaction to things like the Graham Linehan arrest immediately reversed by, I think, huge public opinion against it. What you're seeing is a response now from, I believe, the majority of people who have a common sense valve saying, we're just not having this anymore, sorry. So that's what I mean by, I believe the ideology is dying out, but we have to make sure it is killed off, because I do believe, genuinely, it's been very damaging.
I mean, it's undoubtedly true that there has been a bit of an autocorrection. I mean, just having Donald Trump win the presidency resulted in immediate executive orders that reversed many of the nonsense. But to draw an analogy from biology, there's something called viral latency in biology, right? Where a virus can lay dormant in you for years, if not decades, before it gets activated. Take, for example, the shingles virus, which would be relevant to people that are roughly our respective ages. It could be in you from childhood, and then it only hits you when you're in your 50s and 60s. So these parasitic ideas that constitute wokeism took between 50 to 100 years to first be spawned and then proliferate from the university ecosystem. So it'll take much longer than what you're talking about, the reversal of the DEI stuff or Donald Trump. It's going to require many, many years of eviscerating these dreadful ideas. But yes, I am hopeful, just like you are.
That's actually an insane thing to say, though, because wokeism, or whatever you want to call it, has existed since literally when Jesus was here. Jesus was woke. I mean, that's the whole point. Love thy neighbor, have empathy for people. And he was literally killed for speaking truth to power. So what you're talking about is not something that's only existed for the last
but just to be clear, we're not.
years.
You're implying that people who reject the wokeism are somehow against kindness or empathy or those things. I'm not. I want people to be kind and empathetic. It's the scolding, the vilifying, the shaming, the cancelling.
That seems to be coming from the right.
Well, I'm going to
towards the left, especially in the case of your book.
Well, no, it doesn't actually. If you read the book,
well, I've read some of the book.
We haven't read it all. If you
read some of the book.
As always,
you blame the left.
You come with a limited amount of information on which you base your statements.
Am I wrong by saying that you say that the left have basically, the Me Too movement have basically caused men to feel like they can't flirt with women? Isn't that what you say?
I said, if you read the book, I say that there are a lot of bad men who've done bad things. But actually, the over-demonization of things like masculinity.
So you're blaming the left.
I've just phrased it very deliberately. There are bad men and there are bad women, right? But there's nothing wrong with femininity or masculinity. These are things that should be treasured and prized in a civilized, free, democratic society. Coming back to Gad, I want to play a clip. This is of Lily Gaddis, who came on to try and defend, to me, the indefensible. Let's take a look. I mean, would you use the N-word out of interest?
Yes.
You would?
Mm-hmm. I do, quite frequently.
You use the M-word quite frequently. Well, why? Other than the fact you're a despicable racist. Are you?
Some would say I am. I guess according to the ADL, I'm a white supremacist. I'm a neo-Nazi.
Yeah, well, if you use the M-word repeatedly, you are a racist then, are you?
Sure, I'll embrace that. If that means forwarding... helping white people achieve freedom of speech, real freedom of speech, which, by the way, Shiloh Hendricks is being attacked on all fronts. They're trying to bring legal charges against her. They're trying to get her children taken away. So you were saying, Carmelo Anthony, it doesn't matter.
I mean, a pretty staggering thing to say on a show like this. I want to read a quote, Gad, from the book about this issue. I said, we're now seeing the first early murmurings of a new brand of silliness from right-wing people who have spent years railing against all things woke. They have very different opinions about the world, but use the woke tactical playbook to win arguments and get what they want. You don't have to travel far on social media before you encounter a furious, straight, white Christian man who's convinced the whole world is against him. And I do believe that is becoming an increasing issue. in the same way that I found a lot of the woke activists incredibly hypocritical, I also think it's very hypocritical of people on the right to start behaving like the very people they've been criticizing for years for being hypocritical wokies.
Right. So let me tie what you just asked with what the gentleman before mentioned about Jesus. The idea that human minds can be parasitized has existed since time immemorial. So in that sense, he's right. But wokeism involves a specific set of bad ideas. 200-300 years ago, we used to think that it was a good idea to throw a woman into a body of water, and if she swam, that meant that she was a witch. So the capacity for human minds to be parasitized has always existed. The term wokeism relates to specific parasitic ideas that are contemporary. Regarding your other point, both people on the right and on the left could have parasitized minds. So for example, when it comes to accepting evolution, it's people on the right that are against it. But when it comes to applying evolution to the study of the human mind, it's people on the left that are against it. So it's not a political orientation issue, although all of the parasitic ideas that constitute wokeism do stem from the left, because all of those ideas come from the university ecosystem, and it is largely professors on the left that inhabit the university ecosystem.
Do you believe it's dying, wokeism, as a concept, as an ideology?
Not fully. So that's why I wouldn't throw the celebration parades yet. For example, in Canada, we don't have an agent of change like Donald Trump. And so I recently had to appear in front of a House of Commons committee where I was trying to argue that it is wrong to use DEI when judging scientific excellence. But for many of the people that serve in the Canadian Parliament, that was blasphemous for me to say that, right? And so, yes, there is some autocorrection taking place, but I wouldn't throw the party yet.
Donald Trump is an agent of change. What change?
Well, Donald Trump is clearly an agent of change. You may not like the change.
No, I'd like to know what the change is.
Can I offer
one?
Yeah,
offer again.
Not having 6'4" women with 9-inch penises that used to be called Bubba yesterday, but today are called Linda, sharing the bathroom with my 13-year-old daughter would constitute a return
Now,
to
can you answer the question in a silly way? Because I don't know anybody 6'9". Can you answer the question in terms of what you mean?
I've never seen a penis that big.
what and a penis that long. So can you answer it in terms of real world things? What do you mean?
Having reversed the policy of having trans women, i.e. biological men, competing in women's sport until 15 minutes ago, the 117 billion people that had existed on Earth throughout human history seemed to be able to navigate through the very difficult conundrum of what constitutes male and female. But 15 minutes ago, we were no longer able to do that.
Well, you're actually you're wrong, because there have been cultures in which they have made definitions of what male and female are. And they're not majority cultures. They're not the ones that we live in. But through human history, this has always been an issue. Always.
In those cultures that you're referring to, which I'm very familiar with the field of cultural anthropology, when people decided to mate in those cultures, did they typically mate by having two phenotypes called male and female get together?
Yes. Yeah. You're right, so but I'm saying you're absolutely right.
So they knew what male and female was.
But you're absolutely right. But you do know as well that there were cultures in which those two things flowed back and forth. When you're talking about procreation, of course that's true. But there are also definitions of male and female that went back and forth.
We're straying into actually a different area, which I want to discuss with another guest. Gad, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it very much. Good to have you back. I want to bring in Blossom now to talk about this trans issue. Blossom, welcome back to Uncensored. Here's the clip we're going to play you.
You know, Riley, I think you're just trying to make it seem like that trans people are a threat to cis women in the breast room, and that's not the case. Trans women and cis women should be coming together. Trans women are not a threat to cis women.
Okay, but here's the look. But Blossom.
And I think that y'all have ran on that ideology.
Yeah, Blossom.
Y'all have ran on that ideology for a very long time.
hang on.
And you're going to have to specifically tell me cases. Can you specifically tell me cases of where trans women have...
Well, Blossom, that was you and Riley Gaines debating the Trump trans in women's sport ban. I say in the book, trans women in female sports is cheating on steroids or hormonal therapy anyway. And as with so much in the woke obituary, the kid gloves are now off. Polite and reasoned objection was met with increasing insults to common sense, till eventually the whole farce was flattened by a clunking fist. That clunking fist being Donald Trump winning back the White House and making one of his first acts, banning trans athletes in women's sport, because he understands that most people think it's unfair. Now, that doesn't mean, Blossom, that I have any problem with trans people. It just means they can't compete against women in women's sport because they're biologically male, so have an advantage.
I see you're still acting stupid, Piers. How are you? Did you miss me?
Not massively, no. Actually, I did a bit, Blossom, yeah. I did a bit.
Love it, Blossom.
Listen, Piers, let me tell you something. Being trans starts with gender identity, not biological sex. And so until you acknowledge that conversation, we can't really have a conversation.
No,
Y'all
to be
refuse
clear,
look at the
let me
facts.
deal with that head on. You are entitled to identify as anything you like. You will never have
sure
any
do.
no complaint with me. The problem comes when you try and compel everybody else to respect whatever their identity
I
is.
ain't trying to compel everybody
hang
else
on,
You should let women
hang
speak,
on,
Piers.
hang on.
Respect
Because you
women so
interrupted
much.
a black trans woman, do not interrupt a black trans woman when she's speaking.
Talk it,
What I'm
girl.
trying
Talk
to say
about
to
it.
you.
Well, you asked me a question.
What I'm
Talk
trying
about
to say
it.
to
Talk
you
about
is-
it.
You
Let
asked
women
me a
speak.
question.
Let women
Let
speak.
women
Women
speak.
speak, Piers.
Thank you. See, I'm a big fan of both of y'all, by the way.
Well, I'm
looked
a
at
big
y'all's
fan of
works.
you.
I love
think-
you.
Love you.
All right, can we
love
stop
you.
this
Love
annoying
you.
Love
contest,
you.
please?
Take
Love
up
you.
space,
Take
baby
it up.
girl.
Come on,
Take it.
baby.
Take
Take
the
it.
mic.
Take it.
Yeah, it's just about being on a whole spectrum. Nobody is saying that people cannot have their views on trans people, but let's speak facts. Trans women do not have a benefit over cis women in sports, because even with Riley Gaines is still a 5th place loser. 4 biological women beat her in that sport. It's just that ironically, Leah Thomas, a trans woman, tied with her, and she made it a big
You're
deal.
missing
She
the
got
point.
clout off of that.
You're missing the
She
point,
got clout off
Blossom.
of that.
Blossom.
And see, y'all are
Permission
calling
to
it
speak,
woke, but-
Blossom. Permission to speak.
Yes, hold on.
Permission to
I'm gonna
speak.
land my
No, hang
plane.
on.
Hold on, I'm gonna land my plane.
Hang on.
Y'all
How
are calling it woke.
did Leah Thomas perform when she performed as a man in the swimming pool?
Hold on, just a second. Let me land this or whatnot. Y'all are coining it the term woke, but I find it ironically, Piers, that you use African American vernacular
Thank you.
as the title of your book
Thank
to
you.
benefit from it.
Thank
when
you.
it's been culturally rooted in the
Thank you.
1930s in the black
Thank you.
community.
Further back than that.
You are trying to
Further
profit
back
and
than
benefit
that.
off of black folks.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me make an example. When you go promote this book over on Fox and
ma'am.
Friends, when you booty clap them cheeks,
Which I will
you
be,
sell
by the
that
way,
book
in
on
about
Fox
a
and
week.
Friends,
Woke Is
you gonna
Dead will
have
be
that
on Fox
one-
and Friends.
Let me tell you something. You're going to have that one black MAGA slave that work over there at Fox and Friends kiss your feet and worship you because you have white privilege.
Right,
You
yeah.
are a product of
Oh.
white supremacy, and you are a colonizer.
Right.
Colonizer. Oh,
Colonizer.
you're a colonizer, baby.
Anything else you want to call me, Blossom?
And also, can I add to that? This book
No,
wouldn't
I got that off
exist.
my chest. And by the way, it's Blossom C. Brown, so make sure you get it right.
And
Pronoun
woke
she, her, hers, and
woke is a
powerhouse.
Black American expression. And I'm going to tell you this from history. And that's the tragedy about it. And Piers, I'm going to say to you, I know you wouldn't denigrate, and I know you wouldn't denigrate something if you got the whole history of it. I know you wouldn't do it. But woke was the password for people on the Underground Railroad.
I know. I
Because
wrote
what
about all
happened,
this in my first book.
Okay, it's in there? Okay, so I don't know who appropriated woke, and I don't know why they did. But we need to go back to a beautiful expression that's being trashed or being misused. And I want to stand up for woke. I want to stand up for the word.
The problem is-
because my ancestors, my ancestors and Blossom's ancestors, when we were escaping slavery, you followed the Big Dipper. And when you went to a safe house, the password was woke.
Yes, I don't remember anybody. Listen, I hear you.
Speak,
I don't
sister,
remember
speak.
anybody in the 60s in Black American music where it originated saying that woke meant that men with penises could compete in the swimming pool against women. Sorry,
Piers,
that wasn't
I
part
don't
of
understand
wokeism.
why
Sorry,
are you so
that was
fascinated
not
with body
that was
parts?
not what it was about. That has been hijacked by a bunch of science-denying people who think there is genuinely no advantage to biological males against women in
The
sport.
science
And there
says,
is.
the science
And this
says
was
that
never
trans
what
women do
wokeism
not
was
have
about.
an advantage over cis women. There is something called genetics. There are some cis women with higher levels of testosterone. It's called genetics.
So what would happen,
Genetics is
Blossom?
biology, Piers.
Blossom, what would happen?
It's biology.
What
And
would
so
happen?
You keep saying that people don't believe in
All right,
science. I don't think you or the right believe in
my
it.
friend James wants to have a gender-neutral Olympics, next Olympics, which is LA, actually. Would you support that?
You've asked me this last time, and I got a lot of flack about it.
Yeah, so what's the answer?
I do believe the Paralympics and the Olympics can be played together because I believe with the Paralympics, they can be able to be more supported, just like the Olympics.
Sorry, you would like to put the Paralympians into the regular Olympics?
Yes, I do. So
Wow.
that way, some of them.
You know what,
can
Blossom? You have
actually
somehow
see-
managed to get
and
even
let me
madder
make
than
it
you
clear,
were
Piers,
last time
and
you were
let me-
here.
Can I
Let
say
me make
something,
it actually
Piers?
clear.
All that would happen, just to be clear, is that no Paralympian would then win a medal. Congratulations.
Let me make it very clear.
Congratulations on
I think that
unveiling
because
the
trans
least
people-
fair, inclusive policy imaginable.
I think
same if you
here's
put
the- here's
women
why-
and
here's why
men
I'm trying to
in the same
compare. But here's
Olympics
why I'm trying to
together,
compare.
compete against each other, women don't win anything.
I just want to make one
think
tiny
that
point.
the Paralympics should be able to see the discrimination and the inequalities that trans people like me face when they're put in that same sport. And I'm gonna stand 10 toes down
You know
on
what?
that.
I have an
Who
answer.
gonna check me, boo-boo?
Blossom?
Who gonna check me, boo-boo? I said what
I don't want to check your boo-boo at all.
You're still a
I don't want to check your boo-boo, Blossom,
You
but
are
here's the
still a
deal. Nor do I
colonizer.
want you competing in women's sport. You can have your own.
what now?
You can have your own category, trans sport,
Y'all are not going to
or
watch
you can
trans people.
compete
There are
in
not
men's
enough trans
sport
people
because
to
you're a
have our own
biological male.
category.
It's quite
That is why
straightforward.
trans women play with women in sports. There are not enough trans athletes. There are less than
And
10
always
trans
have,
athletes out of
and
510,000
always
athletes.
have.
Okay,
According to the
United
NCAA,
Nations.
y'all don't want to hear those
All right,
facts.
the
Y'all don't want to
United-
hear those statistics.
just to be clear-
you just want to benefit off of our experience.
Just to be
and
clear-
we are tired of you, colonizer.
just to
we
be-
are disgustingly tired of you, Piers Morgan. You are colonizer.
You know what,
Get
Blossom?
over it.
I don't think you'll ever get tired of me. You love it too much.
Oh, I
you love me
you,
too
Piers.
much.
You love me too.
I think you're just quietly quite attracted to me. But I'm going to leave it
Why do
there.
you always bring it back to that shit?
Right.
Just because we disagree with you.
Blossom, good to see you.
We're not
we're gonna-
attracted to you.
We're gonna actually
Thank you.
stick around for this one, Blossom, because we're going to end with BLM. And Bonnie, I'm going to focus
Yes,
this
sir.
with you. I want to play. This is where I was arguing with you and Paul Arone Adrian about the issue of whether reparations should be paid to the African American population for previous crimes of slavery. Let's take a look.
The United Kingdom was actually on the side of the Confederacy during the Civil War, and in fact was going to send a ship to the Confederacy to fight for it when it was stopped
All right,
and
who's going
warned
to-
by Lincoln
okay.
and paid an indemnity to the United States.
Who is going to pay me
Yes.
and my family reparations for what the Vikings did to us?
Well, I think you should seek it out.
Who's going to?
Explore
Who's
it.
gonna stick it out?
Explore
Stick
So
it out.
literally,
Educate us.
so we go back over
Educate
every
it.
invasion,
Okay.
every
And this
bad
is what
thing.
and this
Hang
is
on,
what
let me,
upsets me.
let me finish.
It is the
Let's try and have a
ideology of
conversation.
denial.
No,
It's
it's
the
not.
ideology of
It's not, I'm
denial,
not
Piers.
denying anything happened.
So then let's deal
No.
with it.
Well, I've been to Scandinavia, and guess what? They're not going to pay us trillions of dollars
They
for what the
should.
Vikings did, despite my
You
best
look
efforts to
better
try
now,
and
Piers.
get
That's
it.
amazing.
What's that?
You look better now.
Well, I get better with age.
Well, you look great. No,
Yeah.
seriously.
No, James is thinking the same thing.
All right.
He just won't admit it on public camera. So I say this in my book. For a while, everything had to be racist. British MPs debated the report on why our countryside, the actual fields and forests, are racist and colonial. US protests turned into the ludicrous defund the police movement. The idea was to eradicate police altogether on the basis that some police are racist, even as carnage raged on the streets. None of the defunders ever had a good answer to the question of who else they would call if a maniac was battering down their back door. Liberal darlings like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and incoming Vice President at the time, Kamala Harris, preposterously supported these moves. So here's my point to you, Bonnie, about
Yes.
BLM.
Yes.
BLM came out of a truly horrific thing, the appalling murder of George Floyd, and the person that did it is serving a very long prison sentence. Quite rightly, that 8.5-minute video is one of the worst things I've ever had to watch. It was despicable. So let's just, I think we can all agree on that, right? The question is then, how does society respond, right? What we saw, and I think there's an interesting thing here about double standards. We saw a lot of rioting around America, a lot of cities being smashed up, a lot of damage being done, a lot of police being attacked. And yet we saw very little accountability for that compared to what happened, say, on January the 6th, when you had the Trump supporters attacking the Capitol. Again, a reprehensible incident, one that was despicable at the time, and I've said it ever since. No defense for what happened that day. And I do think Donald Trump's rhetoric fueled a lot of the behavior of those people. But if you look at the way they all got dished out with very long prison sentences, sometimes way out of kilter with what they'd actually done on the day, and compared to what happened to the BLM protesters, there is a double standard there. So whilst I completely concede that Black Americans have had a tougher life in the history of the United States than their white counterparts, I also think we've got to a stage now where Black protesters were treated more leniently than their white counterparts on January the 6th. Can we agree that?
Can I?
Absolutely not. The January 6th rioters were, their sentences were commuted by Donald Trump. They didn't even spend prison
Well,
time.
that's a different matter.
So, let's make that very clear. Let's make that very clear. And he still is inciting political violence.
That's because he got back in.
You cannot compare apples to oranges.
I'm not talking about.
You're trying to compare a movement that is about Black equality
Blossom, you're missing my point.
An insurrectionist. You can't compare apples to oranges. And I think you're being intellectually dishonest by saying that.
Thank you, but the question was actually for Bonnie. But thank you.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry that you felt the need. I'm sorry you felt the need to interrupt another Black.
No, that's all right.
Very unfortunate.
She's right.
Very unfortunate you speak over
she's right.
a fellow Black woman.
Piers,
So my point, Bonnie, is this. I think there was a double standard, and that never helps anybody in what I believe is the most important thing, to be intellectually honest, right?
You're right. So let me be intellectually honest with you and say that you sound like you had actually accused Donald Trump of being responsible for January 6th.
Well, no,
well, hang on.
Not wholly.
Well, wholly,
but I do think his rhetoric inflamed the situation.
Why is he president of the United States?
Because Americans voted for him.
Yeah, that's a rhetorical question.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of it is because of the woke movement driving people away from the left into the arms of the right. The Democrats in America, your beloved Democrats, have never
to the Constitution
but hang on.
that he denigrated.
Bonnie,
Piers, come on. No,
I'm
Piers.
about to give you a terrible fact.
What is that?
The Democrats in America, your beloved Democrats, have never polled more unpopularly than they do right now in recorded history. You know why? They didn't get the memo from my last book,
I'm not a Democrat.
Wake Up.
I'm not a Democrat.
And they followed the woke ideology. I know,
but that's their problem.
You're not a Republican,
That's
are you?
their problem. Listen, Piers, you first of all, to compare an insurrection against the Capitol of the United States, led by the president, to a bunch of boys who should be in jail, by the way, who break into Gucci's to get some shoes.
I didn't compare them.
Hang on, no, you didn't.
I didn't.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
You cannot compare what happened in the George Floyd, which I don't agree with, because I've said it online. I don't understand what protesting for Black rights has to do with breaking into Gucci's,
Correct.
okay? So if you're going to put these two things next to each other, the equivocation is deeply incorrect. Deeply incorrect.
I wasn't.
There is. Okay, no, you had them in the same sentence.
All
let me hear you.
All I was comparing was the punishment meted out for very similar offences.
You have put them in
If you commit acts of violence, you should be treated the same.
You have put them in no, they're not the same. An insurrection against the United States is not the same as somebody shoplifting. It isn't, Piers. You know it isn't, and we shouldn't put that on the same line.
I'm not talking about shoplifting. I'm talking about attacking police officers.
They shouldn't have.
Both groups attack police officers.
You're right, and they should have been in jail.
They should get similar
and
sentences.
I'm telling you this as a South Sider from Chicago. They should have been taken down. But to compare an insurrection against the United States, there is no comparison. There is no territory that you can put those two things in the same space. That's my objection to you.
On BLM, obviously, I was at the Arsenal game at the weekend, for example, against Fulham. I think that, like all these things, it's hard to stop them.
Yes.
Right? You know, it's like when people do memorials of things or whatever. It's like when you stop it without causing offence, right?
Yes.
It's a problematic thing once you launch these things. But I'm not against the occasional reminder that there's racism still in football around the world, and it should be stamped out. I think racism is one of the worst things in the world. I think homophobia is. Right? I think transphobia is. If you genuinely despise people for being trans,
I know you do.
I hate you.
So what is your point?
My point about BLM is this.
Yes.
Did the reaction to George Floyd's murder in the end, was that movement, you think, beneficial or not in the long term?
BLM was a kind of insurrection, and it was also an invention. The invention lasted longer than the insurrection. That's my issue with BLM. Even the title, to me, is banal. What does that mean? So there were people's feelings about what had happened, this horrific murder, as you will say. And I'm old enough to say to you that I've lived through several of these in my lifetime. And the BLM movement, which actually some of it was business, literally business.
Yeah, and corrupt in some cases.
And that is my problem with that.
And also, I think the other thing, I cite in the book.
And wait, one more thing, Piers. And the fact that it became business is indicative of the fact that there were human beings involved, and they saw a retail opportunity.
And on DEI, Bonnie, my issue with DEI is that, like a lot of things, it sounds okay in principle. But the way it was executed and why it's been reversed now by most companies is because what it ended up doing was promoting mediocrity over meritocracy. That actually, I believe everyone should get the same opportunity, right? That we should all agree on. But once that ladder starts up at any business or industry, then meritocracy should be dominant. You should be promoted based on your abilities, not on your skin color or your gender.
You're absolutely right.
Or anything. Do you agree with that?
But I do, but this is the historical problem. We're in a moment where, and again, to say this from my own background and my age and where I grew up, there is a long, long history of, not you particularly, but men like you being able to get jobs, being able to be promoted.
Sure.
So that history is being corrected very recently in the historical record.
Yeah.
So you get things like that as a way to sort of jumpstart it. I agree. I do not have an issue with you about this, but I'm saying that the reason it happens is because we've got to accelerate. We've got to accelerate equality. We must. If we don't accelerate equality, Piers, we're losing genius.
But
we could be losing genius.
No, I don't disagree. But here's the point I would make. I don't think it helps the cause of getting to genuine equality if you promote mediocrity above people's ability. And people who have more ability are suppressed in the process.
Well,
that actually just creates antagonism and resentment.
Piers, you're absolutely right, but you're making an assumption that I hope in your book you've given some details about. I don't know if mediocrity is overcoming ability.
there are many examples.
I don't know.
That's why they mainly scrapped
I don't want
DEI.
Well, no, it isn't the reason they did it. The reason they did it is because Donald Trump wanted them to do it, and also Donald Trump penalized people, and his government penalizes those who don't. I can tell you, as a person who came through affirmative action, that I wouldn't have been able to go to university if it didn't exist. I wouldn't be able to be talking to you if it didn't exist.
No, but that's a long...
No, it is a long time ago.
Not as long... I don't mean rude about...
No, I'm not. No, you say
we're talking
what you
several
want.
decades ago.
No,
right?
No. You say what you want because you're right. It took a long time for them to get there. And this takes a long time. It takes a long time of reevaluating, re-getting together. People want to be who they are. And in that society, we have to find mechanisms in which to do it. DEI is a method. DEI is a moment. There are going to be other things if we give each other a chance. You and I can have a debate, a decent debate, and come out of it. And there are parts of the United States where you and I would not be able to do this, and you know that.
Yeah.
And there are stations where you and I would not be able to sit here and have this.
Yeah,
And the people who are listening to us now, they're not going to sit there and take sides with you. I'm going to get your book. They're not going to be people sitting there going to take sides with me or you. They're going to be people who are going to be enlightened because they're listening to us having a decent debate.
I agree. And you know what? Let's leave it on that positive note, because actually what I want to achieve with this book is not more acrimony and division, but people to read it and be pleasantly surprised it's not what they think it is. I think when you read it in totality, you'll come away and think, well, he's got a pretty good point here.
But I wouldn't buy it with your title, Piers.
Why?
Because I don't want to read nothing called Woke Is Dead.
It's a great title. Look at that, good.
It's a nice layout, but I don't like the title.
It is also it's a shame. A lot of what you're saying is right. A lot of it is conflating issues. Ultimately, I think the reason I invited you to Pride earlier is because we haven't, the woke left, we haven't invited you along, and we've failed there.
Right.
Everyone needs to feel
you'd rather
movement.
just scold us old white dudes and ban us from having a white dude day, and that's fine.
What's a white dude day?
The white dude day is every day.
I've got a white dude month.
White dude day is every day.
I want to say goodbye to Blossom. Blossom, it's always good fun having you on Uncensored.
Right,
You're always
back at
welcome.
You, Piers.
My church is open to you, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
I appreciate it.
Good. Well, go and buy Woke Is Dead. You might learn something.
I think we should get a free copy, considering
I think we
without
should,
us,
too.
the book
Absolutely
wouldn't
not.
even exist.
Probably
We should probably be getting royalties, because if it wasn't
That's
for
right.
I should
the
be
woke
thanking you.
left, you wouldn't have a book.
Well, okay. That's an argument for another day. Guys, thank you all very much. I appreciate the civility with which we conducted the debate about woke being dead. It is dead, but it's good to see.
No, it's not.
Good to see a few weeds still sprouting.
It's very much alive. And he's
It's very much alive as well.
Take care. Thank you. Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask for only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate, and entertain. And we'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more critical, and we couldn't do it without you.